there's some kind of a confusion between these two characters. Okay, we'll sit down and have a chat. Yeah, I'm completely there with you. But with the Reef, it's actually a lot of the decisions made are quite logical. They
Yes.
don't do
Yes.
anything necessarily wrong to get themselves stranded where they are. They just kind of have a spot of bad luck and
Mm,
try and get out of it. Which
exactly.
so I suppose it's good in that sense. But yeah, we'll get there. So after they've had the bee sting thing, they go. Luke takes them to this little island. It's not where they're going. They're going to like Crescent Cove or something. But they stop off the little island for a little break first. Warren stays on the boat fishing, and the other four go on shore, and they do some snorkeling. Some beautiful underwater shots here. Lots of like wildlife shots and nice music going on the back of it. This is just a nice little nature documentary for a while, which, I can appreciate that. Not what I'm here for, but I'll watch it. That's always fun. And then on the little island, they have the terrible dialogue between Luke and Kate of they kiss. Kate had previously been reticent to get back together on the boat. Now Luke is reticent. They start kissing. He backs away, and he accuses Kate of being scared. And as soon as he said, "I know what she said," scared of what? He's like, "Scared of me." I was like, oh, he's going to say you. He's going to say us. Yeah, he's scared of that.
The worst dialogue, right?
It's terrible. It's the real first draft kind of thing. Scared of me? No, scared of you? No, scared of us? Maybe. I don't know. Oh, God, I hated it. But fortunately, it was over soon because Warren was signaling from the boat. The tide was dropping soon. The boat was almost, the boat that he was on was like almost going to be grounded. And so they jump in the little dinghy they've got, head back to the boat. The dinghy itself gets ruptured on some coral on the way. They just about make it, but that puts the dinghy out of action. Nice. I always like that because that's always something that kind of annoys me in films. Where like, okay, just get in the dinghy that you probably have somewhere. They can't. It's burst. So I appreciate that. And so they get back on board. Everything's fine. Kate is put behind the wheel for a while, and she lets Susie, who has no boating experience, barely has swimming experience, behind the wheel. And I was like, oh, here we go. Something's going to go wrong here. They put Susie behind the wheel. Nope, that's all fine. It's just a little moment of nothing. It's the next day when Kate and Luke are on deck watching the sunrise. So he heads down to get some breakfast, and then maybe the best sequence of the film is the crash, because it happens so suddenly. It's so confusing. It's so jarring to us watching it that you get a real sense of being in the situation with the characters.
Yeah, because it happens so fast that it takes a moment for you to actually realize what happens.
I think I glanced down to make a note and looked up and like, what? Hang on. So I had to like go back a few seconds, like watch it. Oh no, it was that sudden. Like he's just under there, he's looking in the cupboards for something, and then the boat's upside down.
Yes.
Everything's flooded. It happens so quick, and then he gets everyone out one by one. Pretty much everyone is useless on this boat apart from Luke, it turns out. He's the only one who can do anything. He gets them all out, gets them on top of the boat. Warren's hurt his leg, Matt's hurt his head, but everyone's just kind of okay. And then they got to work out what do they do. So they're nowhere near land. They've got very few supplies. It's the first thing in the morning. No one's had any breakfast yet, which they don't eat for the rest of the film. So they're doing everything with no energy. They get like a bottle of water from somewhere, but you got to work out what do we do. And what would you do, Kim, given the options here?
Of what would I do?
Yeah, if you were in this situation, what do you think you would do?
Like the boat has capsized? Well,
yep.
I think that, I mean, if you know the boat is going to sink, like the situation that they're in right now, you have two options. It either sinks or you leave. I think that the logical thing of what to do would be exactly what Luke would have done, is you would go into the water. Because if the boat is going to sink, you're going to be shark bait anyways. Right?
I agree. I completely agree. I would have done the exact same thing and probably been the first to die.
Probably.
I'm not the strongest of swimmers. It's been a long time since I've swum anywhere. So the two options that they have is, as you say, stay on the boat and kind of wait. They've got a little signal thing, but it's an old one that requires a plane to fly directly above it, and they're not on a flight path, so that's unlikely to happen, and the boat is likely to sink. Or Luke suggests they try and swim for land. They try and swim for the island they've just left. They can't see it. They've got no compass, but he can work out which direction they're going in roughly using a watch, which I did not know about. So I've looked that up. That is true. You can just like look at where the sun is, point the 12 hand on your watch to it, and then bisect the angle between the sun and it works, apparently. It's a thing on the internet, so I'm great. Learned something that will probably kill me when I do it wrong sometime.
So you're gonna mix it up, right?
I'll try not to remember it. I have a compass, that will do. Because I don't have a watch with a hand on it. I've got a digital watch all the way. So he opts to swim. Matt and Susie say they'll go with him. He gets a little surfboard that's in the boat, cuts it in half, and floats, and there's a pair of flippers they can share. Kate decides she's going to stay, then changes her mind she's going to come. But before all of this, they're putting on wetsuits, and Warren tells them that if you wear a wetsuit, you look like a seal. Sharks love seals. This is nonsense. Of all the nonsense, because it hasn't changed their body shape. Sharks don't judge things based on texture. They don't look any more like a seal before than after. This is terrible. Most frustrating line in the whole film, I think. And so I hated that. But the scenes of Luke getting stuff out of the boat, I really enjoyed. There's some real good horror movie scenes in there where he's in the boat, in the capsized boat, rooting around for the signal for any food, floats, etc. And then suddenly on the outside he hears they're pounding on the bottom of the boat that they're sat on. They're yelling for him. He can't see anything. We stay down with him. Everything we see is from Luke's perspective. What's going on? Is he upon exiting? Is there going to be a shark? But they saw something. They don't know what it was. Nothing happens. But I love that sequence of him being down in there, scared. It's terrifying.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the stronger scenes. I think scenes that really do live through, still works through multiple viewings. It's one that, it's what I say, you're in that person, right? You're in that person's point of view. And a lot of the movie is out of Luke's point of view, whether he's looking underwater or looking wherever, later on, when they're actually in the ocean, moving. But in that moment, it's all dark. You can't see anything. And you kind of have all these images of what if there's a shark that pops up, There's nowhere to go,
And when he does come out, he gets scared by some tuna or something, which kind of come out of nowhere. So there's a little jump scare in there. But yeah, we do see everything from Luke's perspective pretty much. Even, I think, the final time the shark arrives is the only time that we see the shark before they do. It's kind of the Hitchcock thing of letting the audience in on something that the cast don't know about. Yes. Right. Before then, we see the hints of a shark. Is that a fin? Is that something in the murk over there? But we only see it for real when they definitely do. And the camera is generally at sea level, which is nice. It's E.T. Everything's shot from the kind of a hip level, like a child's perspective. Everything here is shot from the sea, which is really good. I appreciated the filmmaking. This looks like it was very inexpensive film to make. So I think they did well with the budget they had. So they set off. The four of them set off. They leave Warren behind. We do come back to Warren at a later date where he's just stood up after everyone's departed. We'll end Warren's storyline now, where they cut back to him and he sees something, hears something, and it turns out yes, there are sharks around him. We don't see him get eaten by a shark, and we never see Warren again. And at the end of the film, when they do the denouement, they say Warren was never found. There was an extensive search. Warren was never found. And
such a disposable character, right?
Right. Especially when you consider that on the true story this is based on, he doesn't exist. No one stayed behind. That's just a thing they made up. Well, that could be based on another true story, I suppose. But for the purposes of the one that allegedly happened in 1983 to a guy called Ray Boundy, there wasn't one person staying behind on the boat. There were three people. They all tried to go. He was the only one who survived. Yeah. So they just added that in. And I did think, I love Finding Nemo. And one of the reasons I love Finding Nemo is you have the two stories going on. You keep on cutting from Nemo in the fish tank and Marlin and Dory trying to find him. And there's always something fun happening on at both places. So I do appreciate when they have two locations to cut back from. Right. I think it breaks up the story. So I thought, we're leaving Warren back on the boat, maybe with Kate, or maybe we're not at that point. We're going to keep cutting back between the two. It's going to keep the action going, keep it lively. But no, we cut back once and then he's gone. So, oh well.
I think that's really a budget problem.
Maybe. Yeah.
Or it's just going to be a whole lot of taunting, like taunting Warren. And what is he going to do? Is he going to like jump out of the boat and chase after them? I feel like that's the main thing is really that when you have this type of, I guess I would consider this something like I've never looked up the budget. It's, I'm looking at it right now. It's $3.8 million.
Okay.
I guess that's kind of low. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like if it's a lower budget type of film, which this film seems like it is, because they don't need to use a whole lot of like, I don't know, CGI sharks and stuff like that. They're just using actual footage.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be to their advantage. Like this film works because it's low budget, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah, if you compare it to Deep Blue Sea, which was made 10 years earlier, that had a budget between 60 and 80 million.
Oh, wow.
So, this is a much smaller budget than that. But I feel like if they could have cut back to Warren and, like, he falls asleep and he knocks the signal when he's got to dive into water and get the signal thing, or he runs out of food and he tries to get... Like, they could have done more things with this invented character, but that's not the story we have here. So, yeah, fine. Like, it's the boat's rounded, you can fall asleep and roll off of it. Like, you just fall off.
They fell asleep on their little, like, floating devices,
yes.
And they didn't even fall off. So
I was amazed. I was so impressed that they fell asleep on these little half a surfboard floaty things. And they're all fine. Great. So happy.
I was just like, I remembered when I did swimming lessons and I had to use those things when I was a kid. They weren't that sturdy. they didn't have that grip that this one had.
You have two people asleep on one of them. One half a surfboard. Oh, it's not even a full surfboard. It's like a bodyboard kind of thing, isn't it? So Warren's gone, and the other four are heading out, and they've got about 10 to 12 miles to go, and they're just heading. They're just swimming. That's it. That's the rest of the film. Is they're just heading towards land, little bit by bit, and they get tired pretty quick. Matt gives them some advice, like when he's at the gym. What he likes to do is pretend that he's having sex, which they're all laughing at that, just to give him like an extra burst of energy, I think. So they're all having a laugh, and then like, oh, they see something. What's that in the distance? Is that a turtle? And yeah, it's a turtle. Its head and its flippers have been eaten. So they become very concerned that there might be sharks in the water in this wide open ocean where there are definitely sharks in the water. They suddenly become concerned there might be sharks in the water.
Well, to be fair, I think that scene, Luke seemed the only person who was really concerned when they saw that. Like, they looked shocked, but they didn't seem like, oh, Luke was like, I think we should get out of here, And I just find it, like, the first time I saw that, I thought that was really, really great. I thought it was nice, but I was kind of like, I don't know, like, if you put yourself in, say, like, you were in that situation and you saw a turtle shell floating in the distance, would you go and approach it?
Well, I suppose because we're seeing it like they are from the kind of the ocean level.
Yeah.
We can't tell what it is. I think I'd head towards something because it could be
a rock.
Yeah, it could be. Well, it looks like it's floating. Yeah, it could be. We don't know what it is. It could be anything. It could be something useful. It could be part of a boat. It could be something else that someone can float
right.
on. So I mean, they could have used it as a floating device. It was floating. Probably be quite heavy to try and swim with. But yeah, so I think I would at least investigate, because it's unlikely to be something that's going to try and eat me. But then the person who does go out, well, when you first watched this, can you remember who you thought would die first?
Probably Susie. I always think like the freaky person, like a person who freaks out the most is going to die first.
Okay, because that was my wife's thought, but as soon as Matt headed off to the turtle, I was like, Matt's going to die first. Any second now. His days are fully numbered. He's said very little in the film so far, to be fair, so is Susie, but Matt is maybe the blandest character here. He's just kind of some guy. That's all we get. So he heads over to the turtle, inspects it. It's a turtle, fine, whatever. Then that's when we cut back to Warren. Warren's gone. And then they're out swimming, they're still going. And suddenly they see something. Is that something? What's something? I love the confusion. And then Luke looks, Luke's got goggles, so he's looking underwater and he sees there is a shark. And he tells them there is a shark, which sends everyone into mad splashing panic. And he's told them all to minimise the splashing as much as possible. And he's like, oh no, it's a shark, it's a big one. And terrifies them all. They all start splashing around. The shark gets close, swims away, gets close, swims away.